Annually, June 26th is marked as the United Nations International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, with each year commemorated under a different theme. In Sokoto State, the day was commemorated with a lecture where critical stakeholders showed their concern over the rates of women's indulgence in the menace. What is the current situation of drug abuse in Sokoto State, and how prevalent is it among women? These and more will be on our radar on Panorama, coming to you from Sokoto Network Center. I am Sadia Umardiki. The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council has presented its 90-day regulatory reform accelerator action plan aimed at improving Nigeria's business environment. Vice President Kashim Shettima at the event restated commitment to deliver the dual mandates of bureaucratic and legislative constraints on ease of doing business in Nigeria. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Are listed on here, and I will just quickly speak to them very briefly.
The target of these stakeholders is reforming Nigeria's business environment through facilitation of National Single Window Project, tracking of efficiency reforms, and delivering measurable growth in productivity, among other initiatives.
Our collective aspiration is that the reforms, along with the insight and learning from this regulatory reform accelerator, will drive measurable impact for productivity and competitiveness across key sectors to improve the Nigerian business environment and support the economic initiatives of the government.
So after the past 120 days, after a slow start, we're glad to see that indeed out of 1,187 activities across 36 agencies spanning 14 ministries, 876 of them were successfully completed. So we commend the MDAs for the hard work.
Since inception in July 2016, over 180 verifiable business reforms have been implemented through stakeholders' engagement. And the federal government is saying despite the achievements recorded, more needs to be done.
That our public sector reforms have achieved a collective score of over 80% at the beginning of the 90-day regulatory reform accelerator. The regulatory reform accelerator is an avenue to inject life into our economy and renew the hope of our nation. The quality of your ideas and the intensity of your energy today are the very sparks we need to stay on track and to always remind ourselves of the burden of expectations upon us. As we reflect on the measurable outcomes of the regulatory reform accelerator, I urge all stakeholders, particularly the MDS, to build on the gains of the past 120 days with a sense of urgency and purpose.
The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council is working directly and actively with 53 ministries, departments, and agencies, and what is expected is more action for greater economic outcomes. In Abuja, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
Hello and welcome to Abuja for the continuation of the Panorama. My name is Justin Bemwi. Cabinet Committee on the Control of Cholera Epidemic in Nigeria wants government at the subnationals and health authorities to develop strong public health systems that can accurately track the spread of infectious diseases, especially the current cholera outbreak. Oluseyi Adeagbo reports that the inaugural meeting is in response to President Bola Tinubu's directive to the Federal Executive Council to set up a committee to oversee the Cholera Emergency Operations Center, coordinated by the National Center for Disease Control, NCDC.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC current statistics, puts the number of suspected cholera cases at 1,528 with 53 deaths across 31 states in 107 local government areas. Worrisome statistics there. The Federal Executive Council last meeting on 25th June 2024 constituted a cabinet committee on the control of cholera outbreak in Nigeria, with the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Muhammad Ali Pate, as the chairman, and membership cutting across relevant ministries, with the mandate to bring to an end the spread of cholera ravaging the country. The Nigerian CDC briefed the committee on the outbreak during the extensive deliberations under closed doors.
And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his wisdom, set up early this week in the cabinet a subcommittee to look at it, to accelerate Nigeria's efforts to contain the outbreak in a multi-sectoral way, to think together as to what do we do immediately to help numb this outbreak so that it doesn't get out of hand, and also begin to lay the foundation for preventing such occurrences of infectious disease outbreaks.
Being a waterborne disease, Nigerians are advised to take precautions.
It's important that everyone pays attention to sanitation, wash your hands, avoid contamination of water with fecal materials, and be sure you know the source of water that you drink.
The issue of the open defecation in our community is also a challenge. It's one of the causative agents of this waterborne disease, cholera. And we are campaigning that state governors, local government chieftains will also take this advocacy to their immediate campaigns.
They are assured that the presidential directive will be enthusiastically executed. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adiagbo, NTA News.
The appointment of 8 new federal permanent secretaries to fill in existing and impending vacancies of some states and geopolitical zones in the top administrative cadre of the civil service of the Federation has been approved by President Bola Tinubu. The new federal permanent secretaries appointed after a diligent selection process by the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation includes Dr. Emanso Umobong Okop Akwa Ibom, Obi Emeka Vitalis, Anambra, Mahmoud Fatima Sugra Tabia Bauchi, Danjuma Mohammed Sanusi Jigawa. Others are Olushanya Olubumi Ondo, Dr. Keshinro Mariam Ismaila Zanfara, Akujobi Chinyere Ijeoma Southeast, and Isokbunwu Christopher Osaro Wanwem South. The president says he anticipates that the new federal permanent secretaries will exercise absolute dedication, diligence, and fidelity to the nation in the discharge of their functions and ensure optimum service delivery. The federal government has assured the Congress of University Academics, CONUA, of making deliberate efforts to address its grievances. A statement from the Ministry of Labor and Employment notes that the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Nkiruka Onyejocha, made the promise at a meeting with the leadership of CONUA aimed at finding solutions to the concerns of the union. The minister further assures CONUA that as a legitimate organization, government would always listen to their issues and resolve them on their merits. 103 Nigerians deported from Turkey have arrived in Nigeria. Ruth Agwele reports that they were received at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons.
What is our Nigeria embassy doing? What are they doing in Turkey?
Expressing grievances over alleged mistreatment by their host country, Turkey. These are Nigerians who have been forced back home for alleged breach of migration laws, including overstay of visa and irregular migration to the country.
13 years I've been in Turkey, and I have my company registered
in 2018. So I've been doing my legitimate business in Turkey, freight forwarding. I am trapped right now because they cancelled my residence permit just because I changed my house address.
Ever since when I have been in Turkey, I've been having residence permit. You understand? It just got expired, and they collected $700 from me for tax and insurance. I did not see my $700. I did not see my residence permit.
But this is not the end of life.
As part of its mandate to protect the rights of migrants in the country, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons expressed federal government's commitment in ensuring that they are reintegrated into the society.
Now that we have them here, we are hoping, to follow up on all the allegations. As you see, we gave them forms to fill, profiling forms, follow up on all of them, those that require support in whichever way we will do it.
Whatever the situation is, these are Nigerians, and Mr. President has directed to come and do a befitting reception for them.
103 meals were received by the federal government, with starter packs and stipends given as part of short-term intervention measures. In Abuja, Ruth Aguele, NTA News.
We now go back to Sokoto for the continuation of Panorama.
Back to Sokoto. More than 50,000 persons from Sokoto, Kebbi and Zamfara states benefited from animals provided by philanthropists and humanitarian organizations during the Eid al-Adha festivities. Chairman Sokoto State Zakat and Waqf Commission Muhammad Lawal Maidoki stated this while giving account of activities of the organization to newsmen in Sokoto. Lat Abdullahi completes the report.
About 500 bulls donated by Darul Arqam Foundation was slaughtered and shared at Amirul Mu'minin Secondary School, and additional 240 bulls handed over to Sethacom, which were distributed to 5 different centers in Sokoto metropolis. 600 persons benefited from the gesture. On their part, Suleimaniya Humanitarian Relief Association slaughtered 35 camels and 1,395 bulls, as against 2,000 it earlier intended to provide. Chairman Sokoto Zakat Endowment Commission, Sethacom, Muhammad Lawal Maidoki, discloses that a philanthropist also complemented the effort with 20 rams that were also distributed to indigents to enable them observe the Eid al-Kabir with relative ease.
For those who desire the Qurbani meat, but we could not get it across them due to one reason or the other. We are humans and no one is perfect. We have done what we can, and that is what Allah has decreed. So we hope they will forgive us.
He commended the benefactors for putting smiles on the faces of less privileged and other vulnerable groups in the state and beyond, and commended Sokoto State Government, officials of Sethacom, Sultanate Council, security agencies, and the media, among other stakeholders, for their contributions to the success of the program. In Sokoto, Alhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Panorama continues in a moment. Do stay with us. There's been growing concern over the extent of moral decadence in the society that negatively influences increased women's involvement in drug abuse and trafficking that requires concerted effort by governments and stakeholders to address the menace of to secure the future of the country. This forms part of the discussion of stakeholders at a sensitization lecture to mark the 2024 United Nations International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, organized by the Center for Sensitization Against Drug Abuse. Lat Abdullahi reports.
Statistics by the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency and LEA Sokoto Command indicates that from January 2024 to date, it intercepted about 1 ton of cannabis and other psychotropic substances, arrested 86 suspects, out of which 73 are males and 18 are females, secured 10 convictions, as well as counseled and rehabilitated 50. At this sensitization lecture, the NDLEA in Sokoto State described negligence on the part of parents and husbands among major factors responsible for involvement of married women and youth in drug abuse and trafficking.
Hardly we go out for operation without arresting women, and unfortunately, most of the arrests we normally carried out in most of the hotels in Sokoto State.
A resource person, Professor Salisu Buhari, in his presentation, deliberated on the effects of drug abuse on human health and why the world is concerned about the phenomenon. The convener and chairman Center for Sensitization Against Drug Abuse, Malam Abdurazak Shehu, says the center will not relent in conducting awareness campaigns against the menace in its bid to ensure a drug-free Sokoto State. Professor Abdul Qadir Usman Junaidu advocates comprehensive approach toward prevention of the evil, noting that every naira or dollar spent in prevention is an investment in the future of the country.
Drug abuse and illicit trafficking continue to pose great challenges in our societies. The human cost is incalculable, with countless lives lost or shattered.
Sokoto State House Assembly Kabiru Dauda, represented by Habibu Halilu Modachi, says the State House Assembly will partner with the center to effectively tackle drug abuse and trafficking in the state. In Sokoto, Alhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
And now to our discussion segments. We'll be discussing alarming involvement of women and youth in drug abuse and the way out. And with me in the studio is the Commander, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Sokoto State Command, Adamu Muhammad Iro. Sir, welcome to Panorama Studios.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, sir. So, sir, what is the current situation of drug abuse in Sokoto?
From the record available, based on the statistic of arrests we have made so far, I can tell you that there is an upsurge in the number of people involving in drugs recently.
Okay. So, sir, what is the most common drug abuse in the state now?
And again, based on the record of seizures we have been making, the usual India hemp is number one. Okay. And then secondly, we also have the cough syrup-based drugs, the codeines. And again, recently, we are having the emergence of a drug that hitherto people are not known to be involved in. Okay. The involvement of people in a drug referred to as methamphetamine, that is ice, is gradually getting ground here in Sokoto State and is becoming a serious problem here. I must emphasize that the implication of this drug, the effect of this drug is more dangerous than all other drugs that we know, even cocaine. Okay. It has a very serious implication. That is why there is cause for concern for the use of this drug.
Okay. So, sir, what is the cause of this drug abuse?
The cause of this drug abuse can be stressed based on the fact that, you know, there is an advent of social media now. Almost everybody is into social media, learning new things. Okay. And again, I must emphasize that there is a serious moral decadence today. The foundation of family is being shaken by the inability of parents to take their responsibility seriously. The mother and the fathers, they don't care about what the children are doing. They don't consider it as a responsibility. They don't know that God will ask them. These children that God has given them, they will account for how they bring them in the hereafter. So parents must take responsibility to the character of their own children. The way you lay your bed, so you will now found it. Some parents don't even care how their children go about, moving about, the kind of friends they are making, they don't care. They just bring them to this world. They don't even take care of their needs. So these children will find solace outside. So most of the things that we have been emphasizing, that parents must take their responsibility seriously. If you see a child taking drugs, then you also must be blamed because you have not done your work very well. A parent that knows what he's doing will make sure that he knows exactly what his child is doing on a daily basis. If a child go out and return, he must ask him, Who did you relate with? 70% of children that normally go into drugs is attributed to peer group pressure. They meet you have a child, you don't know that your child doesn't have a bad character. Now he goes out and start bringing this character to you. And you don't bother to check how managed did he get into this character. Some parents don't know what they are doing. In the night, they even go to their children's room and ransack the room, check the pocket of the children to make sure that they did not bring something that is not known to them. So one of the major things that is really causing increase in drug abuse is that there is a serious decadence of morality in our community today.
There are also reports of prevalence of drug abuse in women. What is the problem there?
From the available intelligence we have, certainly there is an upsurge. Added to the arrests we have been making recently, there is an upsurge in the involvement of women in drug abuse. First and foremost, the husbands do not check what is going on in their homes. There are these women that normally goes from house to house under the pretense of selling what is referred to as kaya matter. I can show you some of these women, they are not really selling this kaya matter of it. Beneath it, they will conceal this drug and then sell it to these married women. Now, most of these are women here in Sokoto State. They don't normally go out, they are under the PUDA system. How do they get this drug? You ask yourself. You find out that there is somebody that is bringing these drugs. We husbands, we don't normally look at what is our wives are doing. We allow everybody to come into our homes. They will come into your house under the guise that they are selling this kaya matter to them. And at the end of the day, they sell these drugs to them. A woman, a drug addict, will do anything in order to get money to buy this drug. You give a woman money for this normal chepani, she will divide this money and start buying this drug. She'll be taking this drug. Behold, when you return, you will now seeing behaviors that you don't know your wives into. Some of them, they go to naming ceremonies, wedding ceremonies, they start learning most of these things. The intelligence we are even having that some of these weddings that they normally go, this kunu and sobo they normally do, they normally put drugs into it. And some of these women, they don't even know, they will start taking it. Before you know it, they start getting addicted to most of these drugs. So these are how how these women normally involve themselves into
That's really
drugs.
terrible. So, sir, what is the long-term consequence of women's involvement in of drug abuse?
I would divide this into two: the married women and then the young girls. For a woman is the foundation of every family. If a woman spoiled, then definitely the foundation of that family is going to be affected. In the sense that 70% of the morality of a child is being shaped by women.
Yes.
Now you can imagine a woman that is into drug abuse. What is she going to give the child? You cannot give what you don't have. You understand?
Yes.
If a woman is deeply into drug abuse, what is she going to tell the children? Definitely, and most children normally copied what their mothers are doing. So in the long run, the children will now grow up being drug addicts, causing a menace to the society, to the community. Then let me come back to the young girls. Today, so many young girls are now deeply into drug abuse. There is no any man in his right sense that will marry a drug addict, knowing fully the long-time effect or the consequence of that. And then there is also the implication of contracting the HIV virus. Some of these drugs are now drug-injected drugs. You understand? Most of these girls will end up having HIV, which by that will affect the community and then the society.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming on Panorama. That's all we can take for now. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
All right, sir. So now to sports. The Court of Arbitrary for Sports Update has cleared Nigerian Tobi Amusa to take part in the Paris Olympics. The Apex Court gave her pass today. For more on sports, let's join Gift George on Sports Update. Visit on Panorama this afternoon. Thank you for being a part of your day. Good afternoon.